Right, hello, welcome to a special edition of the NUFC360 podcast. I'm Jack Cunningham and I'm joined by Andrew Cushin, Geordie musician, massive Newcastle fan. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm not too bad. Thank you very much for having us, Jack.
No worries, it's a pleasure for you to come on to the podcast. So, obviously, you've got a second album coming out. Love is for everyone.
It's here for everyone, and I need you, and you need me, I know you do.
Yeah.
New single as well. I believe the album's coming out on the 5th of February, 2025.
2nd of May.
2nd of May.
You know what?
You know what? I don't know. I totally read that wrong. Tell me about it.
You were a few months off.
I was a few months off.
Yeah, the second record comes out the 2nd of May. We've taken a bit of a different approach with this record. The first one was very soulful. I was digesting a lot of trauma and stuff from myself. So a lot of the songs explained that. I think were a little bit more dour and stuff. There's some big songs on that first record. I loved making it. But I don't really have that cross to bear anymore on the second record. I kind of got out everything that I wanted to. I spoke of loss and hope a lot on that first record. So this second album, it's an interesting process to write, to be honest. I tried to write more universal subjects and things that everybody could relate to, as opposed to just being stories of myself. So there's a lot of talk of love in it. Everybody falls in love, falls out of love. So yeah, it was a joy to write. I think it came out really, really well. But yeah, we've tried to take a more indie approach to it as well. I think there's a lot of songs on there that are a lot more beat and a lot dancey, and yeah, it's been a great thing to be a part of. And yeah, it comes out on the 2nd of May.
Yeah, brilliant. So obviously you're 24, aren't you?
24.
So it's been, I guess, the second album already at 24. That's a pretty rapid sort of career rise. So I don't know, how did you envisage everything going when you maybe first got into music?
Well, I could be dead in a few years, so I've got to try and get it all out of us somehow. But yeah, but you know what, mate? I went full time when I was 18, which was obviously a dream. I didn't pick up a guitar till I was 16 years of age. I was playing football up till I was 18. So picking up a guitar, it was a way for me to just pass the time. I taught myself to play the guitar. My dad could play the guitar a little bit, so he taught me a few chords, and I kind of just went off on my own thing. I wrote my first song when I was 16, which was Waiting for the Rain, which was the song that started my full career. I started gigging when I was 18, and after about 3 or 4 gigs, I think it was, Noel Gallagher got involved off the back of that single Waiting for the Rain, and I was invited down to London. I signed a record deal before I'd even, all these shows that I was playing, it was all covers gigs, man. I'd do half an hour, 45 minutes, 7 or 8 covers, and then maybe finished with Waiting for the Rain, which was the original song, and Noel jumped on it. And yeah, when we signed the deal at 18, I was like, that's it, I've kind of made it. And then you realise, I suppose in anything, it's, you could be a kid getting signed for Newcastle for the under 15s and you think, that's it, I've made it. But then it's only when you finally get in the door that you realise that the hard work starts. And I've been on a lot of tours, I've honed my craft, I do so much writing. And yeah, second album by 24, I've started writing the third one, which is a little bit early. I've spoke to a couple of people in my team and they think I should maybe wait a little while. But nah, for me, if the candle's burning, man, you just keep on going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm still inspired to keep on writing. So, yeah, it's been a mad journey. But I have 2 albums out I'll be 25 when it comes out. So I have 2 albums out by the age of 25. It's a pretty impressive thing, man. I tend not to pat myself on the back too much. I think I'm one of them where I'm the first one to come off stage and ask the rest of the boys or the band or whatever, kind of how was that? How did my voice and stuff sound? But I think something like this, I should probably congratulate myself a little bit, because to have 2 albums out, it's a lot of songs to write, man, and I think I've done each and every one of them credit. So it's a good thing to have 2 albums out by 25.
Definitely, yeah.
I'm proud anyway.
No, you should be. So,
I mean, nobody might like me, but I'm proud.
Sure, plenty of people do, right? So as a Geordie as well, clearly a homegrown man. I think a lot of people from the northeast tend to end up sort of staying there. So what have you found the touring life like?
Mate, it's been a funny thing, man. In the last 2 years, we've really ventured outside of the UK. When I first started, we were doing UK tours and doing as much as we could in sort of Newcastle. When I went away with Louis Tomlinson last year and the year before, he took me to America and he took us to Europe. But the places that I'd never thought of ever visiting, do you know what I mean? And such beautiful places. And we went to Latvia and Lithuania and Estonia and Finland and all of these magical places that I've been able to build up a following in. So the whole touring aspect of it, being able to play my tunes in a part of the world that some of them I didn't even know existed, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I remember getting that first tour poster and trying to pronounce some of the cities that we were playing, and it was mad. And incredibly grateful to have built up that following around the world. It's always nice to come back home. Obviously, when I finished the European tour with Louis, we came back, done my UK leg, and then I managed to finish with 2 nights sold out at the sort of City Hall. So that was unbelievable. It's like, it's such a cliche thing, but there is nowhere else like home, man. Do you know what I mean? And Newcastle's such a brilliant city. It's a beautiful city to grow up in. Obviously, I'm a die-hard Toon fan, Geordie through and through. So it's always a beautiful thing being able to come home and play. But it's a magical experience being able to take my music from my bedroom a few years ago to now going to play them in North America and in Europe, and hopefully Japan and Australia and stuff next year as well. So it's a great thing. But yeah, it's always a special feeling coming back home.
Yeah, that's fair. So obviously you mentioned Noel Gallagher getting involved.
Yeah.
Growing up, was Oasis, that sort of stuff, the type of music that you into, or were you into like a wide variety of things?
Nah, but yeah, it
And
was,
what are your influences, I suppose, that have led to where you got to now?
yeah, I mean, it was all like I'm first and foremost. My dad was in the services.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the army, and he used to write poems and stuff when he was in the army.
Wow.
And my mum was a very, very good singer. She'd done a couple of backing vocalist jobs for fairly famous people and stuff nowadays when she was younger. So I suppose I had a bit of both instilled in us. I wouldn't say I'm a brilliant singer, but I can hold a tune. And so between that and my dad being quite good with a pen and paper, I suppose getting both of them kind of made me who I was. But music-wise, I was always inspired by people who could move people with lyric. Do you know what I mean? I was massively influenced by people like Noel Gallagher, massively. But arguably, he's more acoustic stuff than the full band Oasis stuff. People like Paul Weller. As I got older, I discovered people like Bob Dylan, Donovan, Neil Young, Don McLean, all these kind of artists that could really move you by the power of words, man. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't pay interest in Arctic Monkeys and all that kind of stuff as well. But anybody who could move you with lyrics was always my forte. And I think when I first started writing, obviously it was just me and a guitar. My first few gigs were me and a guitar, and I kind of thought, how can I grab these audiences? And it's one thing having a good voice at 17, 18 years of age, but it's another thing writing a little bit beyond the years. And I feel like I kind of credited myself by doing that. A lot of my songs, I'd sing about trauma and I'd sing about things that I'd gone through, and I'd try and take people in a place that where I grew up. Do you know what I mean? I think people respected that a lot more. And we picked up a lot of fans by doing that. As I say, a lot of the first albums based around that. The second album, speaking of love and all that kind of stuff. So, don't know, man. My influence did vary. Having someone like Noel Gallagher come in, though, I know that you mentioned his name and stuff. Massively influenced by Noel. When he came in, he gave me so much advice just to keep on writing, keep on gigging, really learn me craft. I try and be a bit of a sponge on tour, man. Anybody that I gig with, I've done gigs with Paul Weller, and I sat down and had lunch with Paul Weller, and he gave me similar sort of advice. I suppose in the industry that I'm in, you've got to be a sponge, man. You've got to take everything in, and it's not a case of watching somebody on stage and going, I'm going to do that. It's a case of looking at an aspect of their show that you haven't got and going, like, how can I adapt what they do to make me better? And I feel like I kind of done that over the last 2 years, whereas now I go on stage and I know I've got my heartfelt songs that relate back to me influences of Bob Dylan and Paul Weller and Neil Young. And then I know I've got my dancey songs where I can look back and think, right, that's thanks to Arctic Monkeys and that's thanks to the Jam or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I've become quite a well-rounded artist. Still got a lot to learn, still got a long way to go. But yeah, that's my influences anyway, in a ramble.
No, it's good. I think that's important. I think as any musician and anyone, good to take influences from different parts of your life. And that sort of forms
it's a similar sort of thing with football as well. I think, obviously this is a footballing podcast, and I'm sure that we'll talk about Newcastle shortly, but you look at some footballers, some of the best players in the world, I agree with the thing, some people are born with the talent. They've got to find out what that talent is, of course they have, but you can't tell me that someone like Messi was born and instantly amazing. He would have looked at football players throughout the years and thought, how can I do a bit of that?
Yeah.
How can I do a bit? And it's a similar sort of thing with music, I think. When you look at a player and you go, he reminds me of a young Dennis Bergkamp, or, whatever, people compare Joe Linton to Patrick Vieira now.
Yeah.
I'm not an Arsenal fan, by the way. Point that out. But when people compliment these players on having the characteristics of another player, of course they've went away and done a bit of research on how they can adapt their game. Similar sort of thing in music, man.
Yeah.
I was good when I started. until I started looking at other artists and realising how I can bring myself better, that's when you become great. I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I think I'll get there.
Yeah, that's class. Obviously, you mentioned your 2 nights at the City Hall, sold out. So we're sat about, I don't know, 100 feet away from St James's Park.
Yeah.
Is that a dream, play St James's Park?
Of course it is, mate.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Listen, when we first started, the dream was to do the Clooney. The dream was,
Love that place, by the
it's
way.
amazing,
The
mate.
Clune
It's
is
so
a great
iconic.
place.
But the dream was to have a couple of hundred people in a room singing my songs. That was the dream, and I thought it was going to take me 10 years to get there. We've done it within the first year, and we sold it out, and I think it was 4 days, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, that's it, I've arrived. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And that night's still one of the most special nights of my life. As we gradually got bigger and the venues got bigger, I always had City Hall in my sights. We put on one night, and I was so nervous about selling it, and it sold out in 3 days. I think it was 2,500 tickets. So we put on another night, which sold out close to the day of the gig. I was later told when I was in the dressing room that I became the youngest Geordie to ever sell out City Hall. I know Sam and stuff's done it, but I think Sam done it when he was a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
And various other northeast artists have done it as well. But I was 22, 23 when I sold out 2 nights at City Hall, and I'll hold them memories in with us forever. And again, you get to the point where you sell out a venue like that and you go, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. It's not till you finish the gig that you go, right, what's next? That place, St James's Park over there, is obviously the dream. I'd love to do an arena show as well.
Yeah.
We're just going to see how big we can take them. And listen, I'm in such a privileged and lucky position. I don't take anything for granted. I'm so grateful to everybody for buying the music, for coming out and seeing the shows. Keeps me in the job, keeps me smiling. It's an amazing thing. I just want to see how big I can get it. And I think what an amazing thing for the city as well, to have someone like Sam Fender coming in, being able to do 3 nights at St James's Park. I'd like to think there's room enough for 2 of those.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely room for 2.
Totally. One of my favourite songs, I think, by you is War Flags, because it really encapsulates that feeling of going to the match and being at the match. And me and you are a pretty similar age, we're now mid-20s, and that time is Mike Ashley.
Yeah.
And the match was more about just going with your mates, wasn't it, and having a good time rather than the football, because a lot of the times the football was pretty grim. So is that where that song is sort of inspired by?
Of course it was, man. Do you know what? I was always wanting to write a song. You know, the song is obviously centred around Newcastle, and the fact that it's called War Flags, so it's always going to be a Newcastle song. But I wanted to write a song about escapism, you know. In that song, not once do I mention football, not once do I mention Newcastle United. It's very implied.
Yeah.
But not once do I mention it, because I wanted to make something that was about escapism. Do you know what I mean? If you're having a pretty shitty week, or you might be going through a bit of a tough time in your life, for some people, going to the football on a Saturday, that's 90 minutes of escapism. It might be boxing that you're going to, it might be the snooker that you're going to, it might be going and hanging around with your mates, going to a darts match. I wanted to write something about where people can take all this anguish and all this hurt that they've maybe experienced, maybe in their life, maybe in the week. You see, maybe having a bad week at work, and putting it out in a way that you're going to see something, you're going to watch something, it takes your mind in a different place.
Yeah.
And for me, that was always going to see Newcastle. If I was having a bad week or whatever, it's always something to look forward to. You've always got the weekend. And kind of like you said, it was the Mike Ashley run. Granted, the football was never great, but my day going to the match wasn't remembered of the football that I watched. It was getting up in the morning, getting myself ready, going to the Labour Club, meeting the lads, having a couple of pints, walking up to St James's, finishing the game. Might end up drawing.
Lost 6-0.
Lost 6-0 up. Drawing with Stoke. Whatever. And then it's everything that comes after that. And that day makes up for the shit week that you've had. And I wanted to write a song about that. And I kind of had the song. I only had it for about two days. It took about 20 minutes to write. And someone from War Flags got in touch. Got a couple of good friends at War Flags.
Yeah.
And they messaged my manager and said, we'd love to do a bit of work with Andrew. And my manager came up, well, funny enough, he's wrote this song. It'll be pretty cool. And I sent the song over and they loved it. And I said, well, can I call it War Flags? Because I mentioned, the flags start flying and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, what a brilliant accident to happen. Do you know what I mean? Me writing this song and then them coming in. I thought, what a brilliant connection that is.
I think I lost my way. It's a life we walk on. We know where the pain dragged us down. You dragged us down to the ground. Well, at least we found now.
And they'll loved it, and I was lucky enough to have it played at St James's Park a few times. Always goes down amazing in Newcastle. It's a great song to play live. It's I suppose one of those songs, even in North America or in eastern part of Europe, where people might not understand the Geordie accent, singing La 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 is quite universal.
Of course, yeah.
So it always goes down brilliant. But yeah, I appreciate you saying it's one of your favourite songs. It is definitely one of my favourite songs
Yeah.
as well.
Well, I think let's touch on Newcastle then, shall we?
Me as well.
Yeah. So earliest memories, I suppose, as a Toon fan.
Yeah, so I've got photos of me going to match with my dad hand in hand when I was knee high.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be lying if I said I remembered any of it.
Yeah.
Because you're a bairn, innit you?
Yeah.
You're a kid. So my first memory of Newcastle, and I said this in an interview the other day, I can't remember what year it is,
Yep.
but Newcastle were playing Stoke at home.
Yeah.
We went 2-0 up at half time.
Yeah.
I think Michael Owen got a brace,
Right.
he got one.
Yeah.
And I remember going into the concourse at half time with my dad, having a pie or what have you, and go, is it always like this? This is mint. I can't just score 2 goals. It's amazing. Second half finished, we drew 2-2.
Yeah.
Scored 2 goals in the last few minutes. But that was my first memory, that instant gut-wrenching heartache of being on the bus home going, oh, we had 3 points in the bag
Yeah.
from 7, 8, 9 years of age. That was my first thing. But I think Shea Given was playing in that game. And I played football a little bit up to then anyway. But watching Shea Given play was a big thing for me. I fell in love, because I became like a goalkeeper and stuff. I fell in love with like goalkeeping after watching that game. I don't know what it was because he conceded 2 goals, but
It's not always the keeper's fault.
it's not always the keeper's fault. But no, I remember he held a really high line in that game. He was almost like a super keeper for the first half, and I was like, I remember being mesmerised by this game of football purely for watching Shea Given, and then also the memories that stick with us is of the euphoric at half time and then being down here at full time. Do you know what I mean? Which I suppose is a rite of passage into supporting Newcastle, in it, because you end up having, or you did have a lot of nights like that. I like to think that there's not too many more coming. But, that was my first.
Yeah, that's the first memory. And then, did you get a season ticket at one point? What sort of seasons did you have your season ticket for?
Oh, mate, I'm going back years now. I'm going back absolute years. It was with my dad for about 2 years.
Yeah.
I must have been about 13, 14.
Yeah.
But yeah, then when I started doing music and stuff, I kind of go. But I've seen a lot of great games. Yeah, I was at the 4-4 Arsenal game.
Yeah.
One of my biggest regrets is I had tickets for the 5-1 Sunderland game in 2010. And I couldn't go because I was at a Halloween party.
It was on Halloween, yeah.
And I had a few friends going. I was only 10 at the time, so I think they were going with like their dads and stuff. And they offered me a ticket. I was like, yeah, I'll go. And if I do a Halloween party, I can't go because I'm dressed as Batman. I can't go, you know what I mean? And that's one of my biggest regrets. But yeah, I've seen a few great games. Yeah, I was devastated that I missed the Champions League ones. I was in an album campaign.
Yeah.
I watched them all wherever I was in the world. I watched them all. I went to a couple of the Europa League games and stuff here as well.
Yeah, the Europa League games, that was probably on the only highlights, wasn't it, basically, from back in the Ashley days. That season when Newcastle finished 5th was a good, that was a good year. I don't know about you, but I always have fond memories about that team. Kabai, Tiote, Ben Arthur, Sid. It always felt like what could have been. You know?
I agree.
And then the summer,
I agree.
we signed Vernon and Anita, and that was it.
Yeah, it was a funny
strengthened the squad at all, and that
it was a funny
sort
one,
of summed up
and we also
the
really
Ashley
struggled
era.
in the league.
Yeah,
season
16th.
as well. Really struggled in the league.
16th. That really summed up the Ashley era, didn't it? And I mean, it's hard to look back on that era with any sort of, good, positive feeling. You got to take what it is out of it, and that's why I think it's more about the match day experience, isn't it? Like for a lot of people,
it ties into War Flags. It was sheer escapism for me. For me going to the match, win, lose, or draw. It's the beautiful thing about Newcastle fans, isn't it? Win, lose, or draw, they're always going to be there. Do you know what I mean? And that's not. I think Ashley was riding his luck with that, where it's like it doesn't matter if we get fucking beat 3-0. Yeah. We'll still sell the stadium out. We'll still make a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? So I think it became more about how much money we could take out, rather than let's give these fans something to cheer about. Because I think it's like if I do a show, I'll always give 110%. Always, because you don't know who's in the audience. I was supporting Noel Gallagher a few months ago, and the guy from Aston Martin was in the crowd. We've done such a good job that we've now brand ambassadors for Aston Martin, Aramco. So it's like you never know who's in the crowd. So I'm always going to give it 110%. if I started playing really poor gigs, you'd see my voice went, and the crowd still turned up week in, week out, every single gig, it was still sold out. There's not a part of you that goes, oh, it doesn't really matter what I do now because I'm still going to be there next week. Do you know what I mean? And I think it kind of got a bit like that with the football. It was like, we're still going to be able to sell the stadium out. We're still going to get close enough. Doesn't matter if we don't sign anyone. They'll still turn up. And it's such a nasty way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Whereas now we've got a team that tries. Last night was I thought we played really well. I thought that was the best performance of the season last night. And the support, you've seen it in the support, man. Since the club's got a bit of success, or since the club started trying, or winning obviously the final in the cup and the Champions League, fucking the fans have elevated again, man.
Yeah.
Such a brilliant city this is. Not a brilliant club.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we'll go back to the takeover happening.
Yeah.
Think of the point of when it actually happened. There was such apathy around Newcastle. I hadn't won a game. There was one signing in the summer. It was Joe Willock, who'd been there the season before. They just re-signed him permanently. Yeah. Steve Bruce was still manager. And I think we had Wolves, lost 2-1, and it was just like...
the first home game
everyone
back,
was done.
which was the Chelsea game.
Yeah. So,
And
first game after the takeover.
First game after the takeover.
Flash 3-0.
And we were fucking steamrolled.
Yeah.
But the difference in the ground between the start of that season, so I went to a couple of games at the start of the season. I told you before, I get them all away games now than I do home games because unfortunately I'm never, whenever I'm home,
of course,
I do my very best to get the game.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I was at that Chelsea game, and the difference in that, still the same team, still the same sort of, still the same management, still the same fucking tactics and the way we played. But the difference in the crowd, the difference in the feeling around the ground from that to the start of the season was night and day. And we got beat 3-0, but I tell you what, I think 80% of the crowd I might be opening a can of worms here.
Yeah.
But a lot of them left with a smile on their face because it was like, John, we've got beat. But what great times you've got to come.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe coming in, we survived that season, and obviously what an amazing season we had thereafter.
Yeah, of course. Again, so I suppose if we look at Eddie Howe, I think when Howe was appointed, obviously there was the failed attempt to get Unai Emery, which has obviously worked out for Aston Villa, in the end. But I think Howe was looked down upon by a lot of people, actually, to be honest. And did you expect it to go as well as it has done, in the sense of keep Newcastle up from an almost impossible position, then the season after finish 4th, and then last year, again, against all the odds, just missed out on Europe by basically just because
a lot of injuries there.
Yeah, and we only just missed out on Europe because Manchester United beat a hungover Manchester City in the FA Cup final.
A hungover Manchester
City. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, a hungover Manchester City.
I'm going to say that, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so when he first came in, I'm always optimistic.
Yeah.
Mate, we could be playing Real Madrid at St James's Park, and I'll go in and I'll put a 2-0 win on Newcastle to win.
As you got to do.
I'm such an optimistic fan. No matter who we're playing, I'm always going, oh, I've got a chance here.
Yeah.
So when Eddie Howe came in, I wasn't massively fussed about, oh, well, we could have got this one. It's like, but this is what we've got.
Yep.
Let's make the best of what we've got. Don't worry about what we could have had. This is what we got. So there was that. That season when we stayed up, again, I went a lot. I think did we play Leicester that season? Bruno scored in the last few minutes.
Yes, yeah.
I think we won 2-1.
Yeah, Bruno scored a last minute winner, yeah.
Was it that? And I knew then that we were going to steal. Because it was just, we were playing football far beyond the bottom 3 relegation battle team. So I knew we were going to steal. Second season, we overachieved. Of course we did. Do you know what I mean? It's an amazing thing to say we qualified. But first proper season takeover, we played unbelievable that season. And anybody who thinks that we could have still kept that going with that squad and with FFP coming in, unfortunately, is a little bit delusional because qualified for Champions League, we've got so many more games. And then, like you said, last season, just missed out on Europe, but we had so many injuries as well. Do you know what I mean? We're building such a solid foundation, I think. Like I said, I'm always optimistic. I think it's gone as well as it could have.
Yeah.
I think it's gone as well as it could have. Obviously, this season, I know we're sitting in 11th and stuff. Last night was, in my opinion, the best performance that we've had all season. I'm an Eddie Howe backer.
Yeah.
Completely. And I think with all of the scrutiny that's came around of people saying is he the right man for the job, what a performance to go and put in at home against the league. He is arguably the best team in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
What performance to go and put in and just say I am the right man for the job. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get bigger. And like I say, saying that, I just said before, I'm incredibly optimistic, but it is only going to get better.
Yeah.
Only going to get better.
Obviously, so Champions League last season. You've got a great story about PSG, so I want you to tell that one now. That's really good. But looking at when we bought our season tickets, did you ever, for one moment, imagine that Newcastle would at one point be in the Champions League playing Paris Saint-Germain, AC Milan, and Borussia Dortmund, and were very unlucky to finish bottom of the group and very unlucky not to qualify for the second stage?
Well,
of
the
Champions
Milan
League.
game at home was so fortunate. The PSG game away as well.
Yes.
Of course I didn't. Who did?
Yeah.
Did you?
No.
Nobody did,
not.
man. Nobody did. And it's like, I remember when that draw was done, there was loads of people who weren't Newcastle fans calling it the group of death. And it's like, every Toon fan that I know,
wanted that.
That's not the group of death.
Yeah.
That's 3 fucking days holiday, going to Milan, going to Dortmund,
and
going to Paris.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a holiday, that, man. So it was always going to be amazing. Bringing those kind of teams to St James's Park, man. It put Newcastle back in the place that it should be, which is in people's mouths, man. Amazing.
Yeah.
Story about Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah.
So I was in. So like I said, I missed the Champions League. I had loads of mates who went all the away days. I was in Coventry doing a signing for my album. We were sat in a hall kind of thing. And there was a queue out the door, and I was doing all these signings, but I kind of had my phone propped up like that, like kind of on a glass. I don't know if you can see it, but my phone's propped up. So I had my phone propped up watching the match, and when we went 2-0 up, as soon as we scored the second goal, I stopped the signing. So I was like, "Whoa!" So I was like, "Right, listen, I'll sign everything you want, but you just want to watch the match with us instead, because Newcastle have just scored again." And everybody in the crowd went, "Yeah, we'll watch the match." So there's about 40 seats in this place. The guys brought in more seats for people to sit down. There was a lot of people stood at the back. I managed to connect my phone to this like school projector that came down, and we just all kind of sat like that watching the match. And then when it finished 4-1, I signed everyone's stuff, got incredibly drunk, and then rang TalkSport on the way home with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. And I was in the car on the way home. I was smiling like a Cheshire cat, like I was like raving about Anthony Gordon for about 10 minutes. And eventually they hung up. And I remember my manager turning around and going, "What the hell are you just?" And I was like, "What, mate? What?" And he went, "You didn't mention the album. You didn't mention the tour. You just sat there raving about Anthony Gordon in Newcastle for 10 minutes." And I was like, "It's fine, man. It's fine. We've just done PSG 4-1. But it was a good memory to have. But I had loads of mates who went to the game and said it was just different.
Yeah.
Just totally different.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Again, go back to what we were saying before the interview. I was born in '99. Nobody remembers football when they're 2 years of age.
No.
And if you do, you're playing in the Premier League now because you've had it instilled in you.
Yeah.
So my life of being a Newcastle fan was that Europa League success, followed by an abysmal Premier League season, and then nothing. Relegation battles, whatever. I'm 24 years of age.
Twice.
Until the takeover on the Champions League. So it's creating brilliant memories for me. I love what it's doing. And I said this again in an interview the other day. I love what it's doing for the older fans.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a bit of footage from the Cup final, and it was that old guy walking into the ground. He was getting himself really emotional about how he's just so happy that Newcastle got there. Win, lose or draw, he's just happy that they've been there. For my older family and stuff, I'm proud that they get to see it.
Yeah.
I've got, I might have 3 years before I pass, but I could have another 78 years, you know what I mean? I've got time to see this club hopefully win something. What it's doing for the older fans, I think is amazing. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I mean, Andrew, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Humble, hard-working bloke, really, good individual.
Hair needs cut though.
Maybe needs haircut.
Needs cut.
But I've got one final question.
Go on.
What is the future of Newcastle United?
Success. In one word, it's got to be success. Again, last night was amazing. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, but last night was amazing. Obviously, Crystal Palace wasn't good enough. There's been a couple of results this season which weren't good enough. But in my opinion, you've got to stick with Eddie Howe. You've got to stick with the regime. Still got a couple of players coming back. As soon as it gets to January, we can go and sign some big players. It can only get bigger, and it can only get better.
Okay. One final plug for the album, go on.
One final plug. So, the album comes out on the 2nd of May. It's called Love Is For Everyone. The first single, Love Is For Everyone, came out a few weeks ago. So if you want to go have a listen to that and get a feel for the album. Second single comes out in January. I also go on tour at the end of May, start of June. And yeah, we've got something exciting to do in Newcastle towards the back end of the year as well. So anybody that's disappointed that I haven't announced something for that yet, we have got something in the pipeline. But yeah,
There we
nice
go.
one.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Pleasure.